Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a spicy tale of payback served hot and creamy at a fast food joint with the famous Golden Arches. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. I got payback on an awful regular at my fast food job. So I, 19-year-old female, quit my crappy job at a fast food chain that has a certain arch recently and remembered this story, which I thought was funny. Unfortunately, this is a very true story. I know it's a bit ridiculous. We had these regulars that would come through the drive-thru near enough every day, and I was always the one handing food out the window. They were an older couple, and I was happy to make accommodations to allow handing them food and drinks easier. However, it became increasingly difficult to allow their awful attitude towards me. For context, my branch of the restaurant was one of 5 in my town, but the rest were 20-ish minutes away. We were the worst rated as we were a small but extremely busy as a result and run by literal teenagers half the time. The company would come through at our busiest time, order the same thing, shouting at the order taker, payment window, and me for how slow we were. Every time they yelled at me for how busy we were, how slow, how their food would be cold, how it wasn't fair to make an old couple wait, and every time the man would ask for extra cream on his latte, and if he didn't get it, he would become irate. I would do it for him because I learned to take the bullet for taking too long rather than deal with this guy. So much so, he would call me his creamy girl with a crap-eating grin on his face, and every time I'd laugh but explain that it wasn't appropriate. On this day, I was maybe 16 or 17, we were flat out busy, 600 plus seconds. When the cream couple arrived, I asked them to pull into a bay and we would bring the food out so we could serve the next customer whose order was prepared. He went ballistic on me, refusing to move, shouting at me, slamming his hands on the dashboard, classic temper tantrum, and refusing to move. This went on for so long, I started explaining to my manager the issue, who wouldn't take crap, the situation, and she phoned the police to remove the guy. This is usually enough of a threat to get the customer to go. Not this time. He said something along the lines of, "Every time I come here, we have to wait and my cream melts. And every time we come here, you're working. You are an awful person." I'm not the kind of person to take crap from people. You get the energy you give. But up until now, I'd been forgiving, so I blurted out while he was yelling at me, "So, go somewhere else. It's called problem solving, dude." He was stunned before lashing out again, explaining this place was his only option as there was nowhere I could make him go anywhere else. I said, "Want a bet?" Latte and extra cream in hand, I poured the coffee all over the roof and window of his Fiat Panda. Edit to clarify, I was going to pour it out the window, but he was parked too close. But as I was thinking about it, I realized that I safely pour it onto his car window and roof and not burn him, LOL. I then asked him again to pull around and his order would be ready soon and slammed the window. I then promptly burst into tears out of exhaustion and hate and began to make my way to my manager to tell her my crime. The police turned up basically straight after. We explained what was going on while Cream Man was trying to open the window. They asked him to go and explained he was now trespassing if he didn't go. Long story short, next thing I saw was this man swinging at this copper before quickly getting put into the cop car, leaving his very frail wife still sat in shock, latte-less. Did this man deserve to get arrested? Probably not. Was it appropriate for me to pour coffee on his car? Maybe, maybe not. You decide if I'm the a-hole if you want. Either way, it felt good. Plus, I didn't lose my job. Edit. Some more of the crappy things this guy would do to explain my reaction. Often he would ask me to add like 5 packets of sugar to his pre-syruped latte. He would then complain it was too sweet and accuse me several times of adding more sugar than he asked for. Remaking the drink would ensue. This was not the first time he refused to park up either. Sometimes he would, so it wasn't even he didn't understand the concept like some didn't. But I was always happy to reiterate what he had to do. Worst of all, he would personally blame me if his service wasn't good, even if I didn't have anything to do with the drive-thru. My best friend was working on my day off, and he apparently started screaming for the pink-haired girl to apologize for ruining his order when I was at home. I know I overreacted, I'll own up, but this is borderline abuse. swing at a cop for being asked to leave the premises? Yup, definitely deserved to get arrested. That arrest probably helped that dude get his angry entitlement in check. And our next story. Tie a yellow ribbon around the white oak tree. A couple of years ago, my friends Adam and Belle settled in a neighborhood in their home state, an hour from their hometown. Part of what attracted them to this house was a beautiful white oak tree that grew in the front yard, estimated to be about 100 years old. The tree's a fixture in the neighborhood, and to their neighbor 3 houses down, it was something special. This neighbor, Karen, was about 10 or so years than they are and is a diehard environmentalist. There's nothing wrong with this, but this neighbor took hugging trees to a whole new level. Her first sentence to Adam and Belle a few days after they moved in was, "You're going to take good care of Stanley, right?" "Stanley?" Adam asked, confused. "The tree, that's its name." "Oh," Belle said, laughing nervously. "I wasn't aware it had a name." "Well, it does, and I hope you won't make sure nothing happens to it," Karen said in a somewhat threatening tone. Belle and Adam are former Army and police, respectively, so they weren't intimidated, but they realized this neighbor might be nuttier than a squirrel's pantry, according to Belle. Later, they were talking to a different neighbor about Karen, and the neighbor just rolled her eyes and said, "Karen's harmless, just squawks when someone accidentally drops their trash on the sidewalk," or something like that. It became something of a joke between Adam and Belle to say hi to Stanley. Fast forward to last spring, while the other trees in the neighborhood sprouted leaves, Stanley remained barren. Adam and Belle hired a respected arborist to come in and see what was wrong and to hopefully fix the tree. Unfortunately, according to him, the tree was dead, so Stanley had to be cut down. Belle and Adam alerted their neighbors and assured everyone that they would plant a new white oak tree in its place. They also checked with the county and the city to make sure they didn't have to file paperwork, got a report from the arborist, and hired a company to cut down the tree. Basically, dot their I's and cross their T's. They learned from their many years at their careers to document. Stanley is cut down and the stump dug up to make room for the new white oak coming. That night, Adam and Belle are watching TV when Belle happens to look outside. There's a figure lying on the spot where the tree stood, but it's too dark to make out who it is. Adam gets a flashlight and his phone and heads out. Lying on the spot, sobbing profusely, is Karen. Adam, uncomfortable, asks if something's wrong. She tells him to go away. He's not in the mood for confrontation and just asks her to leave. She says, "I'll stay as long as I need to grieve." Worried he's dealing with crazy, Adam calls the non-emergency number, and at this, Karen just scurries off. Karen starts acting crazy. She wears all black for several days, has a large picture of the tree in her front window, and would glare at Adam and Belle as they worked in the yard. She doesn't do anything illegal, but Adam and Belle invest in a security system with several cameras just in case. Belle has something of a green thumb and decided to plant a vegetable garden. One summer day, she and Adam returned from running several errands only to find the vegetable garden gone. All that was left was the upturned dirt. Adam and Belle check the security footage. To their utter shock, they see Karen uprooting their vegetables, potting them, and moving them to her house. They call the police and they head over to Karen's house. There was Karen, planting the stolen vegetables in her backyard. When confronted, she says, "They didn't take care of Stanley, so I'm taking care of them." You read that right, folks. She felt she was entitled to them because of something that happened out of Adam and Belle's control. Adam and Belle give the officer, "You don't get paid enough for this," looks before the officer says, "Ma'am, you did steal from them. They just want their plants back. Otherwise, they'll press charges." At this, Karen becomes irate, and it's not until she's reminded that the officer has a body camera and that assaulting him would be a dumb idea that she agrees to give back the plants. She glares at Adam and Belle as they take the plants back. They get a police report and add it to their paperwork. Not long afterwards, Belle and Adam get a court summons. Yep, Karen had decided to sue them for emotional and property damages, all for cutting down the tree. Their lawyer laughed as he looked at the letter, saying there's no way this would fly before a judge, especially with all the evidence. He sent Karen's lawyer a letter saying as much, saying that if she did go ahead with this suit, that he'll go after them for court/lawyer fees for wasting everyone's time. No dice. Karen dug in her heels and a court date was set. The judge let Karen and her lawyer argue for close to an hour about what Adam and Belle had done to her. how Stanley was an innocent soul who deserved its chance to live, and they don't deserve a chance to even care for a child. All the time, the judge was looking like she didn't know whether to laugh or roll her eyes, but she let Karen dig her own grave. When Karen and her lawyer finish, the judge turns to Adam, Belle, and their lawyer, asking if they had a counter-argument. They present the paperwork from the arborist, the city, county, the video of her stealing their vegetable plants, the police report, everything. The judge looks over everything before looking at Karen and her lawyer. "I'll keep this brief. I've been a judge for close to 30 years and have seen many cases brought to the bench, and this has to be the most ridiculous case I've ever heard in my career." She ruled in Belle and Adam's favor, and Karen had to pay court and lawyer fees after chewing Karen out for wasting everyone's time. Karen put her house up for sale and hasn't been seen much in the neighborhood. Next spring, after the soil has a chance to heal from the nutrients Stanley sapped up, Adam and Belle plan to plant the new white oak tree. They're thinking of naming it Karen. I'm betting that this new Karen won't be anywhere near as nutty as the neighbor Karen. And our last story. No pool for my family members. I'll try to keep it short. I am 29-year-old female, the only one in the family with a house with a pool. This has been nice, but also a lot annoying. All the family parties were moved to my house, and I didn't have a say over this, or my parents would call me and guilt trip me. I didn't even like pools that much, and only brought this house because it's an amazing neighborhood, and it's close to my job, and because for an unknown reason, the house was $45K under the market value. Cut to this year. During one weekend, my brother and sisters came to my house without notice and dropped 6 of my nephews and nieces, 4 to 9-year-olds, to play in the pool. And I was made involuntary babysitter for the entire afternoon. After that, I would blatantly lie about not being home and refuse to give them a copy of the keys. But I ended up feeling bad about that. After a bit of my plan, I decided the pool had to go. I searched houses in my current neighborhood but didn't find anything really attractive, so I talked a bit with a neighbor who gave me the idea to demolish the pool and just make something nice in its place. I really like the idea of having a garden since the pool takes a lot of space, and have the bonus of my taxes over my house will drop a lot. I talked to a contractor and decided a budget and a project. Everything was doing okay until this month, so the construction was put on hold. Today, I received a call from my sister-in-law wanting to talk about my nephew's birthday in August. She wanted to use my house for the party. I told her this was not possible because I was getting rid of the pool. She got really mad because I didn't warn her. After that, one of my sisters called me to know if this was real, and after a call of my parents who talked me down about my selfishness and lack of love to my family. I don't think I'm wrong, but a friend told me that I was wrong in not telling them in advance. You don't owe them pool time. It sounds like they've been walking all over you and they're mad they won't be able to now. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.